It's necessary because of how Harry was and is perceived by so many people that he means so much to for reasons that are unique to them. So it was important for, I think, his constituency in general to have the opportunity to bring to that space whatever it means to them, whether it's cathartic reasons or whatever the motivations are.
I've never fully come to terms with the fact that he's gone, so I guess having the memorial is really important because it's something that's more, I guess, having me come to peace with it, in a sense.
He was a very larger-than-life figure, and I think that, you know, he spanned so many different domains in music and acting and civil rights, and I think that is felt by people around the world, and I think it's important to be able to celebrate him and come together and say farewell and look to how we're going to move forward with his legacy.
I rode in two lanes for so much of my life with him, professional and family. For me personally, it put an interesting and very difficult challenge on a father-son relationship because so much of the professional side was prevalent all the time and the personal time was so minimal. It all got a little, but that's for me, you know, personally, and how we just take all of the good stuff from family and professional, extract that good stuff, and put it into what we're doing, and for others to hopefully do the similar thing in their lives, and where things are broken, fix it. This and next generation, and when things are working, at least carry them on, if not make them better. He was the master of expressing his dissatisfaction with the way things are.
He was a problem highlighter.
Yeah.
You know, he would see there's a problem and then he would highlight it and he would get everyone to come and try and fix it. And so many of those problems that he did highlight have not been fixed yet. So that's up to us to do.
Growing up with him as a grandfather, we were kind of primed to look at these problems and to take them on. I think it was a very unique presence to have in my life. Like, it was such a pure love between grandchildren and grandfather. And at the same time, he was very much like, gotta fight for the cause, here's what you gotta do. And that was always instilled in all of us. You know, when you're so young and you grow up with that, you don't necessarily see it. But as I got older, I definitely saw how he really tried to be there for us in a way that he couldn't for his children. And, you know, he was one of the first black men of his caliber to take on the spaces he did. And so there's not a guidebook for that. He was writing it himself. And I think as he got older and as, you know, those lessons were learned, I think he was able to show up for us in such a special and incredible way.
And he just adored them. I mean, the first steps, every single thing, you know, he would come to Denmark, he would come to LA, wherever we were, he would come. So I think that we had a very unique relationship.
Estate and legacy are radically different. Legacy lives inside. It's what you glean from the experiences, bloodline, whatever your birthright is, and how you carry that forward and represent it. I look at people that were motivated by Harry, I see agents of legacy. 50 years working with my dad made for an interesting time. And when we got to that time in life when he was withdrawing, clearly getting older, wasn't that busy in popular culture contributions, wasn't making any more music, wasn't working on films, producing stuff. It always begged the question, where do we go with this now? It was clear that something needed to happen that would take his likeness, his essence, and create some kind of relevance for their kids, if it can be done in an institutional way, right? Yeah, you can look at Wikipedia and who is Harry, and occasionally the songs pop up, but when you look at his relationship to movements and to causes that were just part of a massive body of incredibly inspired and committed women and men to advocate change. And you look at Harry's tastes and his motivations, very lofty, big in their ambitions, and they should exist. Our challenge was to try and affect change, but in a way that effectuated day-to-day uplifting a little closer to sea level for these underserved communities that deserve to ultimately experience the penultimate changes that we hope to see happen in how we live in society. But how do you change the quality of day-to-day life, which inspired some of the programs that we're creating?
What Harry meant to us and what he meant to a lot of people, he didn't mean to their generation. And that's what we wanted to change. And that's why it was so important that this became ours. So we weren't stuck in the past. We're moving into the future, inspired by him and you know, with his guidelight, and they are gonna take this forward as well. So it's the whole setup just to take it from what we had with him and then move it forward.
He was really excited and enthusiastic about it.
And we would frequently visit him or call, and he's always asking, like, what you doing now? What are the next steps?
Yeah.
How can I help? And those were always his questions.
I was bullied when I was younger, so one thing that I thought of was, let's create like this community kind of that's online where kids who are bullied, struggling with mental health things can come together, play video games with people, and kind of just develop some form of community where they feel comfortable, and then start to express maybe a lot of stuff that's like pent up inside of them, and then it's all under the guidance of a psychologist.
I think he very much wanted to insert himself into it. You know, he's like, oh, you know, let's meet about this, let's meet about that. But obviously he was, you know, he was slowing down, and we knew that we had his blessing, and we knew that he wanted this to succeed, so.
We would take pitch meetings for this thing, that thing, this CEO, that person. And Harry could, you talk about sell snow to the Eskimos, man.
I have every expectation.
People would hang on every word, and we'd be in these boardrooms, and Harry's laying down what it is we're going to do. We're going to part the Hudson River right about Fort Lee to Manhattan, and we're all going to march across to the other side. And when we get to the other side, and people,
Okay, sure.
he would go, talk to David, he'll make sure it happens. And we'd all get up, meeting's over, everybody's in awe, and we'd leave the meeting. Get on the elevator from the 900th floor. And then when the doors to the elevator would close, he'd turn to me and he'd go, see you on the cross.